Yeah. Okay. I'll feel maybe overwhelmed and, start stuttering and stuff. So.
Yeah. Very often we don't post on YouTube. People are shy. And the quality of stuff on YouTube isn't that good. I mean, it's better if we can edit later and, pull out the gems.
Yeah.
And give something that isn't boring to people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unfortunately, most of the stuff that we videos are on Divvy YouTube channel are need to be played at high speed.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So when I read your document on the Divvy University, that really got me excited. Because I see
a lot of people get really excited, and yet when it comes to the Thursday meeting,
nobody shows up.
Where is everybody?
Yep. That's why today I wanted to make sure that I was at least listening to your conversation there, and I couldn't be involved because I'm working, but I had it playing in the background, and I could listen in and just comment a little bit. But the concept of that, we live in an information economy now, right? I mean, that is where we're at. That's what makes the most money. That's what builds the next things. And when I saw that, I'm thinking to myself, because I had this conversation about mentoring, and we had talked a little bit on the Slack channel about my wife is vacuuming, so give it a minute. Can you hear it?
I can't hear it. Okay. Great.
Yeah. So anyway, I had talked to a couple buddies of mine about mentoring and about how we might be able to do some kind of I mentor somebody, and then maybe they maybe they pay me some proceeds from some of their projects for a little while or something. And then as I build up a pool of students, basically my knowledge has been passed on, and then eventually I'll just be able to retire, and they can do the same thing. That was kind of that's a very simplified version of it, but that's kind of what we had talked about. And then my buddy Travis, he had talked about kind of your idea about creating a Travis coin that then he could crowdfund himself into full-time cryptocurrency work, and it probably wasn't exactly the same thing that you were talking about, but it was something along those lines. And then when I saw your university thing, I think this could be used for all kinds of open source projects, getting people to, the onboarding process is the hardest, right? Where do I start? I join a community, I jump on that Slack and do a ton of reading. And then who do I reach out to? What projects are there out there that match my technical skills and abilities? It's hard. It's hard to get to fit,
Right.
And I'm thinking if you had a group, what do you call them? A group. I don't remember what you called them.
I'm calling them work study groups now, because people in most of the Slacks where we have a study group, it's just called study group.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to put a little more emphasis on the work part.
Work, yeah. So if you have this work study group, and I could sign on, and let's say there's a developer that's already developing something, he could be the coach, put what he's working on,
right.
Have some kind of a maybe the project itself already has some kind of bounty system or something. then
yes,
then we work on it together.
yeah,
I get the learning, I get a little bit of payment while I'm learning even, so that keeps me going. He gets more because he's the one teaching. We break down those silos that are usually involved in every project, and then we trade knowledge. You have knowledge transfer happening, and you got a bigger team, and you get a bigger team. I mean, it just makes all the sense in the world to kind of start from that key place of teaching and incentivizing that.
Okay, just for the heck of it, I'll show you this new bar chain coding group, where our chain is very heavy duty mathematical programming. So I'm thinking, how can we get these people involved in developing the tools for the community and learning about the reactive and functional mathematical programming that we're doing, at least cursorily, because most of these jobs, the programs are composable, and they're mathematically composable. So once the experts develop the pieces, the noobs can copy and paste.
Okay. Yep.
But and also there's a lot of work to be done for the membership, for the community, for the co-op. And HJ and myself, who are Divvy managers as well, are the managers for the ArtChain community, or our managers. Patrick is also a manager. He's in Divvy. He's not a Divvy manager, but Leah is a manager. She's also in ArtChain, a leading person in ArtChain. So we're very much entwined. I mean, that's very much a case study for us in this whole thing, is the ArtChain. And and Kaz is a computer science student who's won a position at ArtChain. What do they call it? He's there for the summer. He's a
intern,
right?
Okay.
And he understands a lot of the programming better than most everyone else. So he's become a coach. And I think the two roles you're talking about are host and coach.
Okay.
I think, my personality isn't well suited to hosting. So, I've been focusing on trying to get coaches that also have some capability to host. I think your disposition is much better for hosting than mine.
It's funny because we do paired programming at work every day. I mean, that's And when I started my job there, I think I'm working on 5 years at my recent job. And when I started there, we weren't doing paired programming, and I really pushed hard for it because there was so many silos in our company, and there was one person that knew this piece of the software really well, and one person that knew this piece really well, and there was very little cross-pollination. And
right. Well, I come out of the extreme programming school. I was many years of Smalltalk.
Okay.
Which is where XP kind of grew out of.
Yeah. Actually, in 2001. Well, you listened to my interview, so kind of where I started, and when I saw that
I was I was excited because this is I'm 100% with you.
Awesome. Awesome.
And and it's hard. It's very hard to get people in that frame of mind. And it's good that you've had some experience doing that because our research area was collective intelligence, and when people all do things independently and they don't communicate, there's no collective intelligence.
Right. And you lose it, or people get this ownership mentality that don't touch my code, don't mess with my code. You're going to mess it up, and you just can't. You can't innovate and grow and learn from one another doing things that way.
And even in the project, when we have a project, first of all, if someone doesn't take ownership of it, we don't have a project. No matter how everybody is saying, "Oh, this is a great project," blah 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 blah. We can talk about it for weeks and weeks. If somebody doesn't take ownership of it, it's not a project. And it's like people think that they can magically, that a project is magically going to spring out of nowhere if they they speak about it enthusiastically or something.
Yeah.
But also, for it to be a cooperative effort, for it to be a divvy effort, okay, and this really may not be in our documentation, I think there has to be a team, a pair of responsible people. And it may be a primary and a secondary, or it can be a distributed leadership thing where they each take different responsibilities.
Sure.
Whatever, but you need two people. You can't depend on just one person on any level of the organization, not just the at the bottom with the programmer.
So can we kind of step back a bit? So I skimmed through the community manual, and I didn't get a ton of the details on that. I skimmed through the I don't know if that noise is from me or you. I did get I did more than skim through the university document. If you look in there, I actually put some comments in there and a suggestion on there as well. But I'd like to just kind of hear, I don't know if you looked at the Crowdfound Hub document. That was an early document that I did May of 2016, I think it was, with a couple guys from MadeSafe. Are you familiar with that project?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So I did that with a couple guys from that community, and I was pushing hard for that, and we were almost ready to hit the go button, and we were thinking we might use Ethereum, and that's when the DAO got hacked. And as soon as that happened, we were just like, crap. What do we do? And so we thought, well, I'm going to hold off for a while and see what happens, and just kind of watch things from a distance, and then just recently I you're familiar with Dash?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, the Dash went way up, and I was like, what in the world? Why is this happening? And then I started looking into more of their model and more of their governance. And I was like, this governance model is awesome, except that you have these huge master nodes making all the decisions. So then I found out about Pivx, and I was like, okay, this is more my style. This is more the open, at least they're going to have more of an open voting system. And I like that. I'd like a little more meritocracy, I guess, built into it, but who knows what's going to happen there. And then I found out from Marcus that the governance that they're moving to is actually ported straight from Fermat, because Fermat gave them their governance system, the newest one that they're building right now. And so that's why I started looking into Fermat, and then met with Lewis and Marcus and Sarah, those three, and then I met you. So
yeah. So we've been working a lot with Jordan and Griff from Ethereum, and looking at incorporating the liquid democracy into Divvy on Ethereum. There's great work done on it, where it's exceptionally flexible. We can have any kind of contract, essentially controlling a pool of votes, and any kind of decision process attached to it. It's the kind of flexible environment that we sort of need when we have autonomy at every level.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've actually written a couple of Ethereum contracts. Nothing that ever went anywhere, but just to kind of play around with the language to figure it out and stuff. But yeah, keep going. Yeah.
So we don't have much in code, actually, that is actually being used at this point. I've written a few Ethereum contracts also, and I'm not an expert by any means, but the idea is that we will employ the mathematics of our chain, which is the row calculus, the mobile asynchronous communicating process calculus, that constrains the behavior of the system. And essentially, our chain isn't built yet, but now there is a basic compiler for it. When you define the behavior, so we can take the Ethereum contracts, express them in row lang, and if they don't meet the behavioral constraints that we put in the row lang, they won't compile. And in fact, right after the DAO hack, Greg Meredith, who's the head scientist on our chain, wrote their contracts in Rolang, and indeed they don't compile because their behavior is not constrained to what their expectation was. And so we're looking at so in a sense we have a leg up. Of course, we'll probably have to pay some consulting at some point because the mathematics is pretty deep.
Yeah.
But it also has this composability aspect, which means that we can sort of take these pieces and prove them once and reuse the pattern again and again. I'm sharing. What am I sharing? Okay, I was I see there's a lot of information in here. This is the Divvy project thing you read.
If you go down a little further, if you go down past the process, so the work group meeting process.
Go past that?
Yeah, right there. So I just threw a suggestion in there, the or. Because I was looking at these 16 steps and I'm thinking to myself, man, that's a lot of tools to use and figure out how to use, and a lot of points to go through. And I thought, man, it would be awesome if the first study group you joined was a newbie's guide to Divvy University,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden, you basically the coach or the host or whatever would then just walk through. This is how we set up a class. This is how or a group. This is how we do the work. Now you guys go ahead and set something up, and basically you could help coaches really start projects, right? I mean, start the groups. I don't know. I was just thinking that. I was thinking that would be kind of
absolutely. I think there's, probably onboarding is is according to Doug Rushkoff is our biggest challenge.
I think it is with every open source project. I really believe that.
Yeah,
it's so difficult.
And in particular, the decentralized world, world is, backwards thinking. It's like, was that our group yesterday was saying, oh, well, if you don't have top-down system, it's not going to work. Top-down control.
Now, who was that? What's the name that you mentioned?
Doug Rushkoff.
I want to break that down because I'm not familiar with him.
He wrote a bunch of books. He's that's
the guy that I looked at that book, Be Programmed or
Program or Be Programmed.
Program or Be Programmed. I'm ordering that. Yes.
And throwing rocks at the Google bus. I mean, he's been in this space for a long time. And I guess I didn't know I covered all this stuff with you, but one of the things we had was, a decentral station. Well, I guess it was fireside chat at that time, but another activity is, getting a speaker and having a panel and doing, sort of a educational, investigative thing in the video. What was my point here? But Doug Rushkoff is a little bit suspect of alternate currencies, even. So he's not quite in the same place we are. But, he's seen it a million times where as soon as you put money in it, as soon as the investors come in, all of the ideals go to hell. And
it's the love of money, right, is the root of all sorts of evils, man.
And he predicted exactly what happened to Scenario. Okay, we had he said as soon as you go for investor capital, there is a pivot, and that was a pivot, and that resulted in the split up of our chain and Scenario, where Scenario brought in $5 million and decided not to fund our chain, which is what brought many people to the table.
Right.
And now
I'm gonna have to mute my camera here just for a second. I'm still here. I'm still listening to you. I'll come back on in just a second, but keep going.
All right. I'm connected to Doug Rushkoff through colleagues that worked on the electronic information exchange system back in the 70s and 80s. at NJIT. You know, along with people like Howard Rheingold. I don't know if you know him.
No, I don't.
Alvin Toffler.
No, I am relatively new to the distributed space.
These are people back in the 70s and 80s.
Yep. Yep. Okay.
George Murray and Roxanne wrote The Network Nation back in 1979. It won New York Times Best Technical Publication of the Year or something, where they described, you know, the future we're living now, more or less. So, of course, it was much of it, though many of their predictions came true, we're still waiting for a few of them.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever listened to the Technology and Choice podcast? That's the one that I was on, but John Ferguson is the host of that, and there's another guy too, and I cannot remember his name, but they talk a ton about, you know, all this technology and ramifications of it and everything, and it's I think you'd really like it, and I'd like to introduce John to you guys, and I think we could have some really neat discussions going on. But
Awesome.
So I guess I started to ask you the question, but then I think I got sidetracked in my own thoughts. Like I said, I skimmed over the Divvy community management document. But could you kind of just talk me through, you know, what is Divvy? What does it look like? How does it? I don't know if you've read the Crowdfound Hub, but if you, even if you haven't, what is Divvy? I think I understand it, but I wanna make sure I understand it.
Okay, well, Divvy. Unfortunately, Divvy is different things to different people, but basically, it's an organization that is fostering the cooperation of communities in creating interoperable, decentralized systems for a decentralized future, pragmatically using tools of today, tools as models of the things that we want to build. Okay, and an example of that is the token distribution system, which currently is run mostly through Google Sheets.
Okay.
So I put the link here to the minting sheets, and basically we have a main sheet where we allocate funds to projects, and we have the core team, which also has a budget that can allocate money to activities, and they vote here. We have the core team, we have advisors, which I guess the core team here is really the Divvy managers, but because people don't like the term managers, we call them core team here.
Sure.
And the way it's set up, you know, each sheet can have its own rules. Usually 3 checks passes something. Sometimes it's weak consensus. You have to have everybody but one. It takes two people to block it. But not everyone participates, and we try to allow for that. They don't want
So you do kind of a lazy consensus then, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. That's a term I haven't been using, but it's a good one. Okay, and then we have a sheet for Divvy University. Really the intention here was to create sheets for different study groups. We haven't it's interesting here. I don't know where this is, but the R-Chain group, which I was just showing you, needs to have entries here.
Okay. Yep.
And we need an Ethereum wallet ID for this sheet. And when somebody is paid here, it links to their sheet wherever it happens to be. And so it's a double entry system. There's an Ethereum ID. Oops, that's the wrong Ethereum ID. Then when we post the transactions, we put the transaction ID over here. You can see they aren't posted yet. To some extent, we have a little bit of cold feet about going live on the token, even though we have deployed them live. There's so many innovations in tokens. We don't want to deploy them until we have to.
Right. No, I get it. I get it. That's kind of the same.
We actually do have. We did deploy them on testnet on Morden, that's testnet sort of went away. We did deploy them live, but we never announced it, and are still waiting. There's some new standards emerging in the ERC20 is the basic standard that we follow. There's now, I guess, a proposed standard ERC23. We're really following the experts that we deal with, Jordy and Griff and the insiders. Vlad and Vitalik from Ethereum are very much involved with the R-Chain group in terms of the development of their proof of stake protocol, which is a lot of the same mathematics that R-Chain is using. We're doing that in cooperation with Great Narrative. But it's a very rapidly moving in any case, this is one of the Divvy projects that we're going to be doing that we'll be funding more or less. And we have one sponsor, Divvy Fan, who's the president of a big international bank based out of Singapore, which was for 25,000 amps. And then, of course, when the R-Chain scenario split happened, the amp took a dive. Today, they're worth like 9 cents a piece. So it's not a lot of money, but it may go up. And I have my own amps, which we'll use some, and we get amps from, or we get rocks now from R-Chain. The cloud cooperative is sort of on hold. That will give us the coin. Now, the Give It group that we're working with, their tokens are not tradable. So I'm not sure, what we're going to do there. But basically, these sheets are at Google, unfortunately, but they do maintain a complete history of who did what. Okay, we can set permissions, and I don't know what permissions are set here. They're set properly, but we can set permissions so that okay, well, there's not a lot set here, but if you look at this row, only I can vote in that row.
I gotcha. Okay. Yep.
It's it gives us a reasonably good interface to distribute the bounties manually, and it's to be automated. And there's a potential of having an interim solution of integrating, it with Google Sheets using Google Script, and of course the long term is to take an open source, platform where we can easily put up a comparable interface and integrate it. As a host, this would be basically your responsibility to handle the sheets, and we would probably set up a sheet for what you're doing. And currently we're paying 10 divvy for participants. Now, if a participant gets extra brownie points, okay, the team gives him more. I mean, the class gives him more. The coaches get 50. And as a bootstrap, what we're saying here is that they may be claimed in ROX amps. Because the Divvy token can't be, you can't go to an exchange and sell it. Whereas with the ROC or an amp, you can, if you want to sell it. So, we're giving people the option of keeping the Divvy tokens or trading them for ROCs and amps. They don't want to pay the bills or whatever, or they just don't trust the Divvy token, whatever.
Sure.
Now, in terms of the Divvy tokens themselves, we are working toward a small private ICO. Divvy fan suggested that process, and what we're trying to do is get all our ducks in a row so that when he goes to his investor friends, they don't laugh at us. um, and we're creating a Divvy marketplace where we have a sharing economy where Divvy tokens are shared, and we have a a number of transactions of people buying, selling, trading Divvy tokens on a very small scale, which we hope to scale up. We have some shared hosting facilities. We have a number of activities that are sort of on the shelf to some extent. The Divvy video production company and the video debate arena, where given people fill the roles and do the process, there would be rewards token rewards are available. So it's been, we've been going for some time. We built up a lot of momentum with Scenario. Almost a lot of that momentum just was lost when Scenario crashed.
Yeah.
And so we're trying to build up again with our chain. Our chain is a lot more technical and esoteric than Scenario. In terms of, not many people are looking for a trustworthy, verifiable world computer. Okay. Which is essentially what our chain will become. And our chain, in terms of production level code, is a long way down the road. But IOP is fairly close, and it ties in very much with the Divvy. So I'm looking at integrating that with our identity platform, and that's been a little slow. Also, we have a study group on Saturday mornings for that, and in the last month, the attendance has been very low. So we need to, bring in people there, and our focus has been on creating an open ID, single login, and then integrating that with the Ethereum identity, Viewport, and Web ID.
Okay.
And I'm attending the, as I said on the thing, the Internet Identity Workshop, which is sort of the Woodstock of identity in Mountain View, California. I don't know if there's any chance you can make that.
Yeah, not this year. Well, unless some of this stuff actually, some of my investments maybe do some good, maybe. But
it would be interesting to see if you get some funding from IOP. They really should be represented there. And I don't think, I'm probably not the right person to represent them. I'm good when it comes to talking about the technical aspects and things, but I'm really not a people person.
I think we're doing fine. So let me see if I understand this correctly. So you've got a token on the Ethereum network that is the Divvy token. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay.
Right. And we had been posting our things to testnet just as sort of a proof of concept.
Mm-hmm.
And then but since the testnet that we were using sort of went out of business, Ethereum had the DDoS attack on the network, so they just switched to a different network, which wasn't based on the parity server, which was not susceptible to that. And that's one of the reasons multiple implementations of the system is good. Because the network based on one implementation got attacked, but they had another implementation standing by. And on the main net, they just switched over, but on the test net, they just abandoned the one that was broken on the other one. And so our Divvy tokens were sort of left astray. Now we can redo the things on the test net or the live net, and we will. But I've been delaying. On the one hand, I want to get on the live net as soon as possible. On the other hand, I want to get it. I want to get the most flexible token I can get.
So did you see my document on distributed incubator? I think I shared that with you.
You shared it with me, and I glanced at it basically, but I did not read it. I can open it now.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that'd be fine if you want to open it. I want to find out how closely, how much parallel there is between the way things would run with a new project where you're bringing in people working on stuff.
What?
Can you not hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I just opened the thing here and for the chat. And
you know what? Let me see if I think I might be able to share it too, right? Let me see if that works.
Yeah, I mean, you can put it in this chat. I'm just a little. There we go. And now there's three separate chat folders from today. We just looked in the wrong two at first.
Here, let me see something here. Let's see. Where is my document here?
I do have it. If I could, I mean, I have the right chat here.
It's the one that says distributed incubator for founding the future. That one.
I thought the link was. I thought the link was right in the chat here. Universal.
Here, let me see if I can share my thing here. I'll just try it. Can you see this distributed incubator for founding the future?
Yeah. But I mean, this is certainly what I had in mind. I mean, it's a little bit hard sometimes to get Kendall to actually decentralize it.
Right.
But he's on board with the concept. It's just against his habits.
So the down here where I threw in, so I have this little illustration that I drew up. So when I saw Dash's governance, and when I saw Pivix's governance, and probably Fermat's original governance, you kind of had this. All of them have a budget. As the coins are minted or mined, you've got this percentage of tokens or coins that go into this budget, and then you've got the voters and whoever they are in different systems. You've got the voters that are voting on these proposals, right? And my thought here is that if you have a proposal, now this, what I had originally intended with the Crowdfound Hub was, I think, more similar to Divvy's idea of, okay, you have projects, you have tasks, different people sign up for different tasks, and as you finish the tasks, I'm assuming you get the bounty or whatever, right?
Right.
Okay. So when I saw Dashes and Pivx, I thought, well, shoot, maybe that's too much of a macro or of a micro level, instead of maybe we back it up and make it more of a macro level, and have, okay, so somebody, maybe a team comes up with a proposal, and you have a team manager or something who is going to be responsible for making sure the people on that team get paid or whatever. And so I was thinking, okay, so create a proposal, get backed by the community, and then they automatically, as soon as that passes, the crypto coin, whatever it is, ends up going to the proposal team.
That's exactly the Divvy process.
Awesome.
We give the budget to the team, they distribute it as they agree to.
Yep. And then the only difference, I think, maybe, is that in my thought here is that I would automatically create a project utility token. It would just be a token that would automatically get created for every proposal. Now, if you had multiple proposals for one project, then it would be considered a proposal continuation or something. It wouldn't get a new token like if you had multiple proposals in the same project,
Yeah.
right? Okay, so then you'd get this.
This is the structure of the Divvy token, is that
Awesome.
You can create child tokens at will.
Yeah. Now, so this is not at will, though. What this is saying is, so you would have a ratio. I don't know if it's 1-to-1 or 1 to 1,000 or whatever it is, but whatever crypto you're working in, everything that gets funded by the crypto community then automatically creates a project utility token. Let's just go 1-for-1 to make it simple, right? Let's say one project utility token gets created, one crypto coin goes to the proposal team, then 90% of those project utility tokens go back to the people that are voting on these. So they're all invested.
Yeah. Have you looked at EtherCamp?
I have not. No. Is it similar?
It's very similar.
Okay. Awesome.
Okay. And we're know these people. We've done a number of EtherCamp classes a while back.
Actually, I take that back. Yes, I do know. I don't know the people involved, but I have seen some of their stuff. Yes.
Okay, and I guess the main thing they're known for is they have the an interactive development environment of the Ethereum J.
Yep, the IDE, the online IDE. I've played around with that.
They have an online IDE, but for their incubator, so to speak, you don't have to use their IDE. You can use anything you want. Okay, and so they've had some experience with it. They've had some problems, and they're trying to they're regrouping and coming up with another hackathon round, so to speak, of where projects, people propose projects, and I guess the people support the projects individually with tokens. The project they want to support with tokens. So it's a little different in that respect.
That was my original idea, is that basically you'd have people crowdfunding the different projects or the different features of a project.
Yeah.
And then those people and then basically the developer, once that bounty got up to a level that they thought was worth it, then they would work on it.
Yeah. Well, where my thinking is going on this is based on personal currencies. They can be credit tokens, so to speak, in that, you could buy, 10 Jim Whitescarver tokens. Okay, at market value, which, since there isn't a market, we can say they're worth $1. And it's an IOU. Okay, so it goes back to the frontier financing of IOUs. But in the project context, I contribute to a project, and I bill for my effort in my currency. Okay, but I get paid in the currency I want. So I can take my payment in rocks or amps or Bitcoin or whatever, as long as the team authorizes the payment. Okay.
Okay. So let me make sure I understand it. So I guess I don't understand it. So I make a Chadrick coin, and then I sell these coins to people who want to back the project.
No, I guess it's a little bit complicated to understand. Okay, I guess the problem that I'm trying to solve is that we have bounties for the projects, and in order to give people monetary sovereignty, we want them to be able to get paid when possible in a currency that they trust. I think there's personally, I think there's a moral issue in accepting a currency that is centrally controlled, because you're giving people power over you by doing so.
Yeah, really. I mean,
so then there's you know about mutual credit systems.
No, go ahead.
Well, mutual credit systems generally, they create a credit token, and sort of within a community, they all trust it.
Okay, yes.
This is a little bit different. That creates capital. I mean, it's a good thing. This is a little bit different in that instead of having one token that everybody has to trust, every project has its own token, and every person has their own token.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And we take advantage of a computer to pay people, where people pay in the currency they want to get rid of as much as much as they can, and where people are paid in the token they want as much as can be negotiated, whatever. And we can automate these negotiations. My goodness, my son.
Okay.
Hold on. Hey, Jeff. Well, I'm in a conference, but I can take a minute. Well, it's you have children?
Yes, I got 2 daughters. Yep. Yep.
Grandchildren?
No, they're still young. They're 17 and 16 and 17. Yes, 16 and 17. So
they're getting there.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's crazy how fast it goes, man. It's crazy.
No. Well, I got 5 kids and 7 grandchildren.
Oh wow.
And I guess a few more inherited from my second wife.
Okay. All right.
But
That's a big family.
yeah.
So when I first heard about the mutual, I don't remember. It was like a debt coin. It was actually talked about by David Irvine. He was mentioning it, and he's the made safe guy, and he was talking about how it works, and I read up on it, and it was basically talking like if you had a manufacturer in the area, they would create these manufacturing tokens, and they would pay their employees with these, and then the employees could then trade them throughout the community, buy stuff, and then the people could then take those tokens and buy stuff back from the company, and that was kind of the what I understood and how it worked, and it's very interesting. I mean, it's
well, that's sort of like the Divvy token idea.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I guess it's sort of a little bit of a separate issue. I was of extending it to be really open money, where everybody's a bank.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody creates their own banknotes, so to speak.
Yep.
And the way I saw integrating that into a community is, people do work and they bill. They can bill in their own currency, but can have a choice of the currency they're paid in. If you look at some of the sheets that we have, if you look at the oops. let's see, where do we find that sheet? Oops. Let's see, I'm not sharing my screen now. Share screen. And we'll probably continue this later. We can look at the bounty payoff decision matrix for our chain, and what we have is we have all of these activities which are assigned to bounty. Okay. And then we have participants. And essentially the managers rate the person from 1 least effort to 9 most effort. And then according to the, and then there's I guess a weight assigned, which is calculated on the basis of the bounty that's being offered.
Okay, so every point is worth 7.41. Is that correct? So like for row number 8, you've got that guy has 3, or the lady or whoever he is has 3. So then it's 3 times the 7.41.
Yeah. How does this work? It's the sum of the row.
Let me see if I can.
Oh, I see. So, yeah. Okay, well, it's something like that.
Sure. Okay.
So the community decides what the value of that activity is overall.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's distributed among the participants in that activity.
Mm-hmm. So there was a open source project called Better Minds quite a while back, and the way they did something very similar to this, I believe they didn't have a bounty. Well, I think maybe you could consider it a bounty system, but what they would do is the people that worked on this aspect, they would each vote on what everybody's level of input was, what everybody's level of contribution was, and you had to end up with 100. You had to basically vote and end up with 100.
Right.
And then what it would do is everybody's vote would then average out, and if you voted yourself above what the average did, your reputation would go down. And if you voted higher, or if you voted lower than everybody, then it might even go up a little bit. Your reputation might even go up a little bit. But it was really kind of a neat solution to the whole thing. I mean, it was really neat. And then
the way we do it in Divvy
mm-hmm.
is the core team or managers, okay, reach a consensus on this by commenting on the fields, and the other team members speak up by commenting on the fields. But we have a hierarchy, so to speak, of decision makers that can be overridden by popular vote.
Mm-hmm.
So we can be agile as an organization by having a degree of top-down control, so to speak. It comes from the top, so to speak, the main Divvy managers assigning divvies to projects and tasks, and then those projects using the decision matrix or some other method of distributing the bounties. Now, what I wanted to show you in this sign is that we had a certain amount of crypto index tokens available, have a certain amount of Divvy tokens, we have AMPS, and we have Rcoin. Okay. So we have the problem now of how do we handle all these different tokens
Mm-hmm.
and who gets what tokens.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
So the the solution was sort of that everybody gets a certain amount of all the different tokens, but then they can trade among themselves
Mm-hmm.
to get more of the tokens they want.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure how this IOU coin really solves the issue.
It kind of it exacerbates the issue, right? I mean, because then you've got even more in the system.
Well, the thing with the IOU coin is that people can self-report the number of coins they want, the effort that they put in, and the market value of that IOU becomes their actual merit, the actual merit that they provide.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it seems pretty complex.
Yeah.
Okay. It would be hard to.
Yeah, it's a new idea. I mean,
Yeah.
I've just started working on the idea of how that would be, and
Yep.
But I do think that a frontier funding model. I mean, people went out to the frontier. There were no banks. They had no currency. Everything was done with IOUs.
Yep.
Okay, and they were personal IOUs. There wasn't.
It was the step up from a barter system, right? Basically.
Right.
Yep.
So they could trade IOUs.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, and then basically, do you accept this person's IOU? Well, yeah, I do, because they're good for it, or whatever, right? It's also your reputation system. That's kind of everything built into one, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it creates capital. It creates, in a very decentralized manner. In fact, a maximally decentralized.
Yeah, I see it. If they're like, I'm not saying it. The idea doesn't have merit. It does, but it's complex. There would have to be a way to turn that complex idea into something simple, that I can wrap my brain around without having to learn all that. There would have to.
Well, the sort of the mechanism that I have in mind, and this is whether or not we have the personal IOUs, because we're stuck with having all these tokens anyway.
Exactly, we are.
Okay, we're stuck with. Okay, is essentially rank ordering and pricing. Okay, which you have the you have you can have norms within your community and the market, and you can have personal preference. You can deviate from the standard.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, for like and I guess the other side of it is that instead of just having coins, you can associate a contract with the coin, with a transaction. So that you buy 100 of my tokens, and I agree to pay back 20 a month.
Mm-hmm. Right. Sure.
And in that month, I can sell coins to other people to pay, borrow from Peter to pay Paul.
Right. And then you have to be careful not to get into the whole.
Right. That brings up the whole issue of the degree of the scope of the transparency.
Yep.
And where you want to give information to those that need it, but not to anybody else.
Right. Yeah.
I didn't mean to get off in that, but this is I was looking at creating a Tampa Bay open money system through a meetup group here, and it doesn't look like I'm going to get sufficient interest on it. But it's become so easy now to create tokens, and the mini-me token is currently what the Divvy token is, which is a very flexible token.
Has Ethereum come out with a token exchange yet on their? Are they planning on doing any kind of a token exchange within the Ethereum tokens? I mean,
well, Ether Delta is the current leader in that, although it's a little bit flaky. And I got a million, way too many tabs open here. Okay, so so this is Ether Delta, and here I'm looking at the R-Chain Rock, which is there's this token standard, the ERC20, and so there's a lot of tokens that support that, and there's this USD dollar token as well, but the Pluton. I don't know if you. This is the Hacker Gold. That's the EtherCamp token.
Okay.
And If you want to add your own token to it, you simply open the chat here, and you ask for, and you give you give French Houdini here the token address, the a description of the token, and the number of decimal digits, and he lists it.
Okay.
Of course, you can buy and sell any token, using a standard Ethereum wallet. You can go to My Ether wallet, and people can send you tokens, and you can send them payment, et cetera, et cetera. But this seems to be the most popular exchange right now. There was a couple of them out there that but Ether Delta is the main one, and it looks like my buy orders are gone. I don't know where they went. I made 2 buy orders. One sell order for rock tokens. People are just getting them the last couple of days. They're changing their amps. If you want any rocks, you can buy some amps now, and you can redeem them for rocks. That's the only way you can get rocks right now. People who invested in amps with the expectation of supporting our chain are being given this opportunity to exchange them for rocks at this time for 10 days.
Okay.
It's a sort of it's a way to that our chain will get some funding, although they're not looking at that as a primary funding mechanism. But I feel like we've just scratched the surface here.
Yeah.
I think that we should, try to get these things, some of these things ironed down a little bit, and look at development. We don't have a lot of funds right now to develop our own stuff. We're looking at doing cooperative projects where we're developing something that we all can use. Now, the governance system of IOP that's coming up sounds a little bit like what you're talking about, which is cool, except that it runs on the IOP chain, as far as I know.
Yeah, it does. So I think now I'm brand new to the community, so what I say here could be a total misunderstanding of how things are going. Okay, so anybody watching this later, know that first of all. But I'm almost positive that the way this IOP is going to work, this Internet of People is going to work, is that, so say in your Pivx wallet, you will be able to make direct connections to people that are offering to sell, some other currency in another chain. Say the Fermat chain and the IOP chain, right? Then I can make a direct connection. I can make a direct offer that I want to sell these I want to trade my PIVX for IOP coins, and I believe we're going to be able to do that with using this social graph, So that's going to be huge. That's going to be huge crossover between the chains. So you're not going to be stuck. Now, of course, the governance system is going to be, the governance system is going to require. I'm sorry. Go ahead if you got it.
It's time. Yeah, I'm going to have to take off. But I didn't realize that the Fermat chain and the IOP chain were separate.
So I think, now I could be wrong on this too. I think Fermat is the organization or the collaboration, the community, I believe. And I think IOP is there's an IOP core wallet. There's an IOP chain. But I'm gonna have to do more research and make sure I'm correct in that.
Yeah.
So
and what they have now is probably the best thing is Shapeshift.
Mm-hmm.
Familiar with Shapeshift?
Yeah, a little bit. Yes.
It basically has very simple APIs where you can exchange coins, and it doesn't require any registration or sign up. There's no currency exchange involved,
mm-hmm.
and I believe there's no fees. I don't know how they do that, but that's the kind of thing that you can easily incorporate into your app to trade one coin for another.
Yep.
Of course, if you're on Ethereum and it's an Ethereum code, coin, you can do that directly. You don't need to go through anybody, Shapeshift or anybody. But if you want to use Bitcoin or something else, you have to can go through Shapeshift. Which I guess I'm a little bit concerned is, what will it take for Shapeshift to incorporate the IOP coin?
Mm-hmm. Sure. Yeah. Sure. So you got to take off, but I want to talk more. I want to talk more specifically about how we might do a work study group. With David over there on 45 minutes on Fermat. So let's talk and let's schedule some more time, because then we can get maybe more explicit, more down to how we can make this happen and what it would mean, if you're cool with that.
Yeah, I'm retired. I have lots of time, so
okay.
So you can maybe suggest a time or two. And,
okay.
And we'll do that, and maybe get some other people who say they want to do the Divvy University involved.
Yeah. Okay.
So that we know.
I'm putting it on a plate now.
Okay.
Okay. All right. We'll see you, Jim.
All right.